Alright boys, so we just got the Arc 3.0 preview from Bungie and I wanted to make this quick video. Now this is a really long article. If you want to go to bungie.net, hit the community tab, click news and you'll be able to see it right there. I'm just going to kind of hit the main points. I want to go over their philosophy with Arc. And I want to talk about the new aspects and fragments, as well as some of the other things that are sprinkled in there, but it's really long. Like, they talk about the philosophy, they talk about design decisions, and of course they go into detail about why they did certain things. So if you want to read it, definitely go check this article out. So the first thing I want to look at is what their identity is for Arc. And right here it states, I'm gonna highlight it for you so you can read along. It states, Arc is really just go fast and hit stuff, said Destiny designer Sam Dunn when asked about the core fantasy that powered the Arc 3.0 revamp. We call it the whole W class. Everything is built around move forward and enable aggression and those abilities. So you're gonna see a revolving theme around Arc 3.0, which is a lot about getting damage resistance and moving very quickly for all classes. There's a keyword called amplified, which I believe it makes you move faster, as well as add some additional functionality to your abilities. All right, so moving on from that, let's see right here. There was one other part that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, it talks about the fragments, talks about the abilities here. Right here, before we dive into the class-specific Arc abilities, let's talk about the buffs and debuff keywords that are in Arc 3.0. I'm gonna read this whole paragraph. First up is the new buff Amplified, which is key to the Arc 3.0 experience. And Amplified Guardian is faster in both in terms of movement speed and in terms of their weapon handling, and more agile, able to perform longer slides that can function as a devastating setup for some of the attacks that follow. Unlike other damage type buffs, Void Invis and Solar Radiant, players don't need to equip any specific aspect or fragment to become amplified. By default, all Arc classes are able to become amplified after rapidly defeating targets with any Arc damage. Just Arc damage, so this could be Arc weapons as well. Wow, I didn't even notice that. Damn, so like Trinity Ghoul, plug one with Reservoir Burst, holy okay, good, and Waveframe grenade launchers like Forbearance, and equipped aspects and fragments offer additional ways to become to get the benefits of being amplified. And here's another really important paragraph. After sprinting for a few seconds, an Amplified Guardian will gain another boost in speed. As designer Mike Humboldt put it, basically as fast as we can make our sprint speed animation go. Gaining a sizable PvE damage resistance buff and enabling an even longer slide ability. Imagine full-on Metroid speed boosters on, only Samus is now wielding Gjallarhorn. Even if a player is no longer amplified, as long as they keep sprinting, the speed booster buff will stay active. So literally, as you can see here, Arc 3.0 is all about going fast and getting damage resistance, because all of the Arc subclasses are all about being faster or about being really close and meleeing everything like Titan and Hunter. So they're trying to make that fantasy come alive by giving you a damage resistance buff in PvE and just making you slide faster, move faster, and everything. So let's see here. Where is the next Arc verbs? Yep, everything is cool here. Alright, so here are the debuff terms that are coming to Arc 3.0. On the debuff side, Arc 3.0 is bringing two to the party, Blind and Jolt. Blinded enemies in PvE won't be able to see naturally and will also be disoriented and unable to fire their weapons, so think blinding grenades pretty much. In PvP, blinded opponents will have their screen whited out and their HUD removed for a short time alongside a ringing audio effect, simulating the ringing in the ears after a flashbang explodes. Jolted enemies who are damaged will periodically send slivers of chain lightning out to nearby enemies, damaging them in the process. So literally just gonna send out arc waves of lightning to nearby enemies. That's pretty much it. The next paragraph states that Arc 3.0 also democratizes ionic traces, which were previously available only to Middle Tree Arc Warlock. Now available to all, traces are objects that when collected will add energy to all your abilities. Now that you are familiar with the basics, let's jump into the classes themselves to see how they'll be making the most of Arc 3.0. Hunters, you guys are going to be very, very happy here. So let's talk they wanted to make Hunter like a graceful monk. That's their whole design philosophy with Arc 3.0. So let's talk about the specifics here. Alright, so of course they're getting the Arc Staff Super back, which is very nice. You guys already know how Arc Staff works. But here is a real nice juicy piece of information. But one super just didn't seem like enough to the team, thus the introduction of a brand new Arc-themed super, the Gathering Storm. Here the hunter leaps into the air, hurling their staff into the ground or into an unlucky enemy like a spear. Upon impact, the staff emits a damaging burst that jolts nearby enemies. Soon after, a giant bolt of lightning strikes the staff and overcharges it, creating a damaging zone around it for several seconds. While overcharged, the staff sends out sends out arcs of lightning to damage enemies that move near it. So essentially, you're going to jump into the air, throw your lightning staff into an enemy or on the ground. It's going to get struck by lightning and start damaging enemies in a nearby area. Sounds amazing. Sounds really cool. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some kind of DPS test to see if this is a DPS super, and it does kind of sound like that, depending on how much damage that arc over time damage actually does. So they're getting, of course, the combination blow melee attack and disorienting blow, just pretty much everything that it has already. So here are the aspects for the Arc Hunter. So the first aspect is flow state. Defeating a jolted opponent causes you to become amplified. When amplified, the hunter's dodge will recharge faster and make you more resistant to damage, and you have quicker reload times. Next up is Tempest Strike. Allows the hunter to perform a slide melee that launches arc wave along the ground, dealing significant damage and jolting enemies in its path, which is already in Middle Tree Arc Hunter. Lethal Current is the next aspect. It states that after dodging, the hunter's melee lunge range is increased and the next melee attack jolts the target and creates a damaging lightning aftershock. When used with the Arc Staff Super, after dodging, the hunter's next staff light attack hits twice. In addition, hitting a jolted enemy with a melee attack will blind them. So it sounds like a bunch of stuff just kind of mixed into one aspect there for the last one. Finally, and of particular note, Arc 3.0 will also bring back the Blink movement mode for Arc Hunters. In fact, the Blink ability will also include a baseline buff for any class that has access to it, looking at you Void Warlocks. Hunters are getting Blink back. If you thought that Blink Warlocks were bad, imagine a Hunter with a dodge just being as quick as a Hunter is. Now they can Blink. So PvP, I hope you guys are excited for that. So let's move on to the Warlocks now. So their fantasy is two separate images: the Lightning Shaman and Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, which is the guy that shoots a lightning out of his fingers. The Lightning Shaman theme that has me interested though. I'm really liking that. Lightning Shaman sounds really cool. We wanted players to feel like they're channeling the power of storms through their body. Said done. Controlling the storm, controlling lightning like an elemental conduit. This is really interesting. I like this philosophy right here. So of course, Warlocks are going to get Chaos Reach back, which is pretty much Kamehameha, and Storm Trance, which is fine. It's going to combine both Landfall and the Blink behavior from Top Tree Arc, which is how it is right now. So it's pretty much going to have the benefits of both, and then Chaos Reach is just Chaos Reach. Warlocks will have two melee abilities available, both utilizing the power of lightning. The Ball Lightning melee will send out a floating ball of arc energy that detonates, zapping enemies down from above. Pretty much Middle Tree Arc Warlock, the range melee attack that it has. But this new one is Chain Lightning, will send out arcs of lightning to strike and jolt the primary target and chain damage to surrounding enemies in the process. I wonder if this is ranged. I'm not sure if this is ranged. What I'm thinking is like they're just gonna kind of force push, almost send their hand out and it's gonna chain lightning from the Warlock hand to the enemy. Maybe it's a close and personal melee attack. I'm not too sure. I hope it's a ranged melee attack. Let's see here. All right, so let's actually so they actually explain it here. The Warlock's whole thing is that being amplified modifies their abilities. It powers them up. For Ball Lightning, if you're amplified, the arc ball will fly out and zap enemies 3 times instead of just the normal 1 time, so you can get more damage out of it. For Chain Lightning, it chains to more targets. More specifically, while normal Chain Lightning creates a single set of chains that bounce between a set number of targets, when amplified, the ability creates 2 sets of chains and can potentially jump to twice the number of enemies. So it pretty much just makes your Chain Lightning just chain a lot more when amplified. And that's how I was saying earlier that the amplification verb or word, whatever it is, kind of adds additional functionality to your abilities, which is really cool. So here are the 3 aspects for Warlock. We got Arc Soul. I think everybody saw this coming. The Warlock casts a rift to create an Arc Soul that will assist players in battle. Allies who pass through the rift will also earn an Arc Soul. The rift charges faster when near allies. While amplified, an Arc Soul you have or gained is supercharged, increasing his rate of fire. Next up, we have Lightning Surge. The Warlock activates their melee while sliding to transform into a ball of lightning and teleport forward. calling down a field of lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts targets. This sounds really cool. I like that. And maybe it's not the greatest thing, but it sounds really fun to use. And then we have Electrostatic Mind. Arc ability kills and kills on arc debuffed enemies create ionic traces. When you collect any ionic trace, you become amplified. That's huge. So you're pretty much going to be able to have that amplification uptime very frequently, because if you're getting arc ability kills, pair that with Crown Tempest, you can getting arc ability kills increases your arc ability recharge rate. You're going to create ionic traces, you're going to slide around, do this ball lightning melee thing, or create arc souls. Sounds really cool. And then we have Titan. Now Titan's got some pretty good changes too here. Let's talk about the philosophy. You don't get to move the Arc Titan, they move you. The Arc Titan's ultimate goal is to punch you in the face. And so a lot of what we did for Arc Titan was to try and figure out how we facilitate fist-to-face contact as much as possible. So the two supers coming back, Fist of Havoc and Thunder Crash. I think everybody saw that back. But I think Fist of Havoc now has an adjusted slam radius that's halfway between top and bottom path, and the ground slam leaves a damaging field in its wake, while slamming from the air causes AoE damage, pretty much how it was functioning now. And I believe that they're saying that Thunder Crash is getting some kind of buff here. I can kind of read it. I don't really understand it. It says, in the case of Thunder Crash, uncoupling subclass abilities from the old subclass Diamond system will result in some substantial buff depending on how players use it. It's one of the intrinsic advantages that the new subclass 3.0 system brings. When you start pairing them with different things, even though nothing changed about the actual ability, they can end up getting significantly stronger as a result, because now they aren't locked into a canned set of perks that surround them. Thunder Crash is a great example of that. Right here, I think they go into it more. Oh no, okay, this is a new class ability, and this actually is going to make a lot of people happy here. One of the biggest changes coming to Arc Titan is a new Thruster class ability. By double tapping a button, the Titan bursts into a throttle, burst in their throttle direction at speed. So pretty much you're getting a dodge, pretty much. Performing a quick first-person evade, comparable in distance to the Hunter dodge. Arc is a damage type that's all about mobility, so if we're going to add a mobility boost anywhere for Titan, it's going to be here. This sounds really cool, and I wonder if, okay, so it is a class ability, so if you spec to 100 resilience, you can get this back in like, I think like 15 or 16 seconds, and of course you use utility Kickstart, it's going to drop that cooldown even more. So Hunters, you're pretty much getting Twilight Garrison, or what is it? I think it's called Twilight Garrison. I can't remember. The the Titan Hunter exotic, Jesus Christ, the Titan exotic from Destiny 1 that allows you to dash in the middle of the air. You're essentially getting that back, just in a modified way, and it's going to cost your class ability. That's what keeps it balanced here. Now Titans are actually getting some cool melee attacks, and I'm very happy, because that was one of the things which I really didn't like about the Arc Titan, is that they have their melee attacks, but I didn't really like the shoulder charge and the one like ballistic missile, whatever it's called, or ballistic slam. Not my favorite melee attacks, but let's go ahead and read it here. For melee attacks, Titan will retain the seismic strike shoulder charge, which blinds enemies. Performing a seismic strike while amplified will increase the radius of the blind, and the blinding effect will last longer. Ballistic slam will also return, where players can slam into the ground after sprinting in the air, or while in the air, creating a damaging explosion upon impact. Sounds okay. I never really liked ballistic slam anyway, but this new melee ability sounds really interesting. Let's go ahead and only hide this bottom paragraph. Okay. Those returning melees will be joined by a brand new charged attack known as Thunderclap. Here, the Titan player holds the melee button and charges up arc energy that can be unleashed in either a quick, powerful jab, or held and built up to be unleashed in a furious One-Punch Man style blast that will devastate an opponent. The charge state cannot be stored, and the Titan must be on the ground to charge the punch. The damage is significant, and 90% Thunderclap charge will one-shot Guardians in PvP. And that reward rebounds by the time it takes to build up the charge level, and the fact that you must remain stationary to charge, always a more dangerous move in PvP. So pretty much you're gonna like charge up your fist, and I'm assuming you're gonna like punch, and it's gonna send out an arc, like a wave of like damage, or maybe you do have to be like in a certain radius of the enemy, like you actually have to make contact with the enemy. I don't know, but it sounds really cool, and I'm probably gonna use it a lot because I don't like the other two melee attacks. So right here, let's talk about the Arc Titan aspects, and they have a really good one, which is the Touch of Thunder aspect. So let's go ahead here. Touch of Thunder improves arc grenades in the following ways: Flashbang, fire an additional blind impulse on its first bounce. Pulse Grenade, when the grenade damages an enemy, it creates an ionic trace for the Titan. Pulse Grenade's damage increases over time as the grenade lingers after impact. So it specifically says creates an ionic trace for Titan. I don't know if that counts for everybody, but it says specifically for the Titan. Lightning Grenades grants an additional charge for Lightning Grenade and jolts targets on initial blast. On the initial blast only though, which is interesting. I don't know why they wouldn't make it for the entire grenade. Now this is the one I really like a lot. Storm Grenades. Creates a roaming thundercloud that moves and tracks enemies, similar to Stasis Hunter, Silence, and Squall Super, firing lightning bolts at the ground underneath it. That sounds really cool. I'm probably never going to take that off if I ever use Arc Titan. That's amazing. Next one is a fan favorite from Destiny 1. We got Juggernaut. While sprinting and with full class ability energy, the Titan gains a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When amplified, the shield is stronger. Once the shield is depleted by taking damage, the player's class energy is depleted. This was an ability in Arc Titan in Destiny 1, except that there was no class ability. So you just had it, and it would break, and then after a little bit, you'd be able to use Juggernaut again. But now they're balancing it, so you have to use your class ability, which is nice because you can still build into that, and you know, not the worst thing. Still really cool that it's coming back. And the last aspect is Knockout. Melee kills trigger health regeneration and make the Titan amplified. Critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shield increases melee range and damage for a brief period. Titan's base melee becomes arc empowered while Knockout is active. And right here at the end, they're going to talk about some of the fragments for Arc 3.0, and some of them are really, really cool. So this is the only 4 they're previewing for us. We got Spark of Beacons. When the player is amplified, Arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. Think Waveframe grenade launchers, Forbearance, Plug 1, any type of Arc special weapon. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be absolutely amazing. Think it's Cloud Strike 2. Oh man, this is cool. Spark of Resistance. When surrounded by enemies, the player has an increased damage resistance. This would be really nice for PvE content. Spark of Momentum. While sliding over ammo will reload your weapon and grant a small amount of melee energy. Sliding over heavy ammo increases the amount of melee energy granted. And we got Spark of Shock. The player's arc grenade jolts enemies. Now these are all really good fragments, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to pair very nicely with all the Arc 3.0 changes. And I'm very, very excited for this. If you guys want to read this article, I'll put the link in the description below, or you can just go to Bungie.net. They also tweeted it, and this is just amazing. Arc 3.0 is starting to be really, really good. Now, if I had to give my first impressions, I think the winner here is Titan. Honestly, I think Titan is the winner here, and I'll have to go next would be, I think it's a tie between Hunter and Warlock, because I feel like the Hunter is a little bit too focused on melee combat, and they don't have like a barricade like the Titans do. Although it would be really nice to make some kind of like blind build, but I feel like melee based builds really scaled, like they don't scale that well in end game content, so we'll see. But I think the winner here is Titan. Then I would say probably Warlock next, just because of their arc souls and everything like that, and the ability to chain lightning attacks with your arc abilities is really good. And obviously Hunter is the weakest, but they're all probably going to be pretty good. But that's just my initial reaction without actually getting my hands on it and creating builds with it. So Titan, Warlock, and then Hunter. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely read this article. There's a lot of good information in here, a lot of design decisions, and a lot of more words that I just wanted to go over the key topics in this article. But definitely read it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And I hope you guys are ready for Arc 3.0. I'm so excited. Deuces.